Well, good afternoon, everybody. Sorry we are a little late, but that's okay. Sometimes it's traffic and traffic. We'll just leave it traffic. Today is Mirrors Mondays. It's our March Mirrors Monday. It is March 23rd, and I am Stephanie Lee, the Youth and Community Engagement Officer here at Mirrors. And to my left, I have
Rashina Masters, and I am the Volunteer Wellbeing Officer for Mirrors.
Great, and to my right,
Sean Richards, and I am a team lead for the Mirrors program.
great, thank you very much. Well, today's topic is actually on volunteer impact, and I have these two wonderful volunteers with me. They have recently volunteered with us for the Junior Forum camp back in February. And they've also volunteered with us throughout the years. Sean here is a more recent volunteer.
Yes.
Yes, and Ro, as commonly called, is that okay?
Yep, that's fine.
Perfect. She's been volunteering with us for
About 6 years.
about 6 years. So you're very accustomed to being a part of the organization.
Well, it's a fast-moving, dynamic environment, so I think accustomed to keep it real. Yeah.
So that's why we have our two wonderful volunteers here today to talk about the impact that volunteering with Mirrors has had on them and the impact that they've seen in the community. And we wanted to give it from two different perspectives, from someone who has newer to the volunteer game here with Mirrors and someone a little bit more seasoned. Yeah?
Okay.
So I do have a few questions, and you kind of already talked about it. So, have you volunteered with Mirrors in any other capacity? And we'll just go back and forth.
So I have been a team leader for Junior Forum for the past 2 years, and then I did a couple of days the year before that, just because that same time I was available. But generally just as a team lead and just additional support.
Okay.
And I volunteered with the Junior Forum as well as the Senior Forum and overseas in Singapore last year
Okay.
as the Wellbeing Officer
As
for.
wellbeing officer?
Mhm.
Okay, so can you guys share with me a little bit about the different roles that you have volunteered with, what they are, what they look like?
Mhm. Wellbeing Officer, well, first of all, it's definitely a privilege to do that here at Mirrors. I was asked to volunteer. I didn't even know such a position existed, well-being. And actually it is, while I do administer any medication that's at the camps or do first aid, I also respond to any emotional needs that the kids might have. For example, they might have homesickness, they might have anxiety. And I actually do stay in tune to that and do a lot of listening and find out where they're coming from. And what I've found is that children really don't care, or they don't care as much about what you know as much as they do about how much you care.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have a background in wellness?
Yes, my background is actually I'm a nurse by profession, and I was also a long-term care administrator and a youth leader. So I'm able to use those skills to bring collectively well-being
Okay.
to the Mirrors.
Wow.
program.
Oh, that's great.
I feel safe.
And for you, Sean?
So as a team lead, working directly with a particular group of kids, so we generally will have different teams of, I would say, around 8 to 10 kids. For the last company, we had around 8, and we're with the kids, with the children, doing everything. So we actually do some training beforehand, before the camp starts. Pretty intense training. It's been 1 day, 2 days, and it's all day together, because us as the different team leads, we need to understand the curriculum that we're going to be teaching, the events that we're going to be putting on, the different aspects of the camp. And we also have to work together as well, because we have to be able to show the values that we're trying to teach the youth, and implement it ourselves so that we can be better models for the kids. So that's a lot of that is done before the camp starts. And then when the camp starts, that's when the fun begins because it's live, it's there. The kids, they come in with their energy, they come in with their ideas, with everything that's happening, and then we have to kind of make sure that that's all channeled into the right directions. We're with them for the last camp. We were basically with them all day. It was an overnight camp. We were over on Grace Island. It wasn't getting away. But so we're there all day with them. We're working with them. We're helping teach them. We're sitting in the lessons with them. We're helping them review the lessons afterwards. So we're basically just there with the kids to help keep the camp going, make sure they get the most out of it, and supporting each other at the same time.
Yeah. That was definitely an experience, my first one.
Yeah.
And our first time taking middle schoolers for a residential camp. So I think, for both of you, that was definitely an experience as well.
Definitely.
Looking forward to next year, for sure. Okay, so what, over the years, in your capacities and through your time volunteering here with Mirrors, can you share any positive changes you've witnessed in some of the young people that you served? Because, with both of you, it's been a few years, and I know for myself, even out in the community, just with this last camp, I still get campers saying, hey, it's me. Like, yeah. So, we'll start over here. So basically, any positive changes you witnessed in the young people that you've served?
I think one of my biggest takeaways from doing these camps, and the reason why I'm going back to doing it, is just seeing the change. In just a week, you can see such a huge change in the campers. You see the quiet wallflowers, the ones who weren't really, on day one, who weren't really engaged or involved, being out loud, dancing, having fun with their new group of friends at the end of the week. You see some of the kids who, too cool for school, don't want to engage, don't want to say, they're sitting there like, okay, I don't even want to be here. And then by the end of the week, they're enjoying it, they're playing, they're doing the games, they're doing all the fun, silly things that we do. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that I've seen, is that them breaking out of that shell and allowing themselves to be who they truly are in public is a great thing to see. Throughout the years, I've seen, on occasion, of course, I'm still getting people saying hi or what's up, seeing, and also like seeing them in other events or other avenues. For example, someone plays sports and I'll be at the game or something like that, and they'll come by, hey, Mr. Richards, how's it going? Hey, Sean, how you doing? And that right there is part of the, why I keep doing what I'm doing, because seeing them. And also I've seen sometimes when things aren't the greatest, when situations pop up, I've seen them de-escalate situations that I might have had to teach them how to do during the camp. But now I'm seeing them take those lessons and take those approach in the real world and apply it to the real world. It's great to see. And I think that's the value of doing these type of programs, because a lot of children don't know what they don't know. They only know what they've been taught. So giving them other avenues and ways to interact with their peers, with their families, with their community is extremely valuable. And seeing that spread throughout the community, I think is only positive.
Awesome, thank you. For you, Madam Brooke?
Sure. And for me, the changes are many, but I want to speak first about the program itself.
Sure.
So when I joined the Mirrors program, most of the facilitators were from overseas. So what I've noticed is that there are more Bermuda facilitators, which has brought a Bermuda culture to this, and the curriculum offered many learning opportunities and it still does. But I just want to talk about as a result of curriculum having an increasing Bermuda culture. And the recent camp we had was held for the first time, the junior camp, as residential on Grace Island. And it offered a remote setting where the youth were grouped together for sleeping, meals, curriculum activities. And during the free time, the children were, or the young people, joined in activities such as swimming, fishing, crocheting, basketball, all the things that we did as young people. And the program encouraged the participants to try new things, build confidence, and also to test personal boundaries in a supportive and non-judgmental environment. And even the growth that we saw just in that week was remarkable, the self-confidence that they actually built. But I also want to step back to, we took a group to Singapore last year, and it was a leadership program. I definitely saw the benefits this year for those same young people that participated in the leadership program now became junior team leaders for our residential camp, and they were phenomenal. They were absolutely phenomenal. They made decisions on their own, and decisions that they couldn't make, they came and asked questions about, but they were definitely modeling the 8 keys of excellence. So
Keys of the doors, keys of the doors, keys of the doors, keys of the doors.
She said it. Like I said, the silly things that we like to do.
Traditions! Thank you both. Yes, no, it's really incredible to see the impact that you volunteers especially have made, because as we know, Mirrors is a volunteer-driven organization. Us as staff, it's only 6 of us. So as much as we can, and we rely on.
And you guys do a lot of great work on me. A lot of great work.
Thank you. But we need you. We need our community to step up and be the change that we all want to see in our community, right? So another question, and I think you kind of started to talk about it a little bit. In what ways has volunteering with us allowed you to express your personal or humanitarian values? And I'll start with Rose.
Again, serving for Mirrors is definitely a privilege. It's allowed me to support future generations and be involved in building community. It also provided opportunities to remain connected to my profession, apply my skills, and continue lifelong learning. My exposure to the diverse cultures both in Bermuda and overseas has most certainly broadened my perspective.
Yeah, for sure.
For me, I think I've always been someone who gives back to the community and looking for opportunities to give back, just from days growing up in church, growing up in other service organizations. Working with Mirrors allows me to do that. Whereas, for my day job, I currently work with the government. I work in IT audit, so my interactions with the general community can be relatively limited just because of the nature of my work. So being able to work with an organization that I don't really interact with the next generations coming up with my day job. So this gives me a chance to keep up to date with what's going on, talk to the kids, really talk to the ones who are future generations and give an impact and interact with them and learn, because I have to learn that apparently I'm not as young as I used to be, and I might not be connected to what's actually happening on the ground nowadays. So this does give me that opportunity to see that, to have those conversations, to see how they're thinking and how they're interacting with their world, because the world that I grew up in is not the world that they grew up in. So being able to have those interactions and teach, we ought to be honest, we know that there's a lot of negativity going on with our community, our kids right now. And as somebody who truly does care about this community, truly does care about this island, and who talks too much, I have to show up for these things like this because at that point I need to be able to give back because that's my way of showing that I'm not just talking about community building, I'm doing it. And I think that's really important for all of us to find areas and avenues to do that because the community needs it, the community needs us, the community needs you.
Okay, so that's Mirror's
Sorry. Bars.
No, that's amazing because we do need that, and we do need to be reminded of that. Like Sean, I'm as young as I thought I was. So keeping, I wouldn't necessarily say keeping a pulse, but understanding that the challenges that I had growing up or that I saw growing up, some of them are the same, but they're also very different.
Yeah.
I grew up with dial-up still. These kids don't know what life is like pre-internet. So, just
Beat you up.
Kid.
FYI. Some daggers
And
you
long
really
distance telephones.
yeah, all of that, exactly, so, just looking at just some of the, I would say, simple or less talked about differences, even if some of the issues or some of the concerns may be very similar,
Yeah.
they're still very different in many, many ways. So, being a part of these type of organizations and being a part of Mirrors, allows us to really take the time to listen, because we're coming from it from our perspective.
Yeah.
But what is actually going on,
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you. And so with Mirrors, you both mentioned that Mirrors goes through training, and all of our volunteers go through some form of training, whether it is a life coach or as team leaders or junior team leaders, however it is that you're volunteering with us, we do go through some form of training. So how has that training prepared you to create a more positive impact in your various roles?
During the training, there's a foundation called the 8 Keys of Excellence. And
We're not
especially,
gonna do it again.
but one of those 8 Keys of Excellence, and for me in particular, it's commitment, that would be showing up, flexibility, being able to adapt to situations, and ownership, being responsible, along with compassion, professionalism, and proactive care. Those are my contributions to a positive camp or positive culture that's here. Just want to make a piece of how the training might have prepared me. Last summer I traveled with Mirrors, as I mentioned before, to Singapore as the well-being person. So I expected to join a well-being team when I got to Singapore. And when I got there, I learned that I was it. So there were about 60 people that I was responsible for. That would have been the Bermuda contingent, the campus in Singapore, and also the facilitation staff. And I thought that the training prepared me well for this because, number one, I definitely had a relationship with the leadership, with the program leaders, so that was one piece. I recognized immediately that I was it.
This is it.
So I quickly, looked around and understood my responsibilities, but also took into consideration what my limitations would be too.
Yeah.
So knowledge of the background, which is part of the preparation that we do for that, and medical history and incorporation from the leadership team, that was a very good preparation for me. And while we were over there in Singapore, we did have something that could have turned into a very serious program. Very serious issue. But having the things that I aforementioned, that helped us as a team to be able to navigate through a very potentially serious situation and came up with a positive outcome. So I would say the training definitely is something that we should never leave out. And it's very, very important.
Here. Thank you, Umbro.
So for me, like I mentioned before, and same with Monroe, with the curriculum that we're using and the training that we do, it isn't just for kids. It's not just for the middle school, or the high school forum. It's for us as well. And the same values are extremely important in any organization. I have other professional organizations that I'm a part of or a leader of, and the skills and the communication skills, the understanding, being able to break down barriers and have real conversations, regardless of how having those difficult conversations, and the frameworks that the Mirrors program helps put together makes those a lot easier. And I've seen some great outcomes by utilizing some of those skills in other organizations. Communication is key, regardless of what level you are or you think you are, and it's important to be able to walk into a situation confident but humble enough to know that, hey, I have my own set of facts and ideas and thoughts of what I'm seeing in this situation. This other person has their own ideas and facts and thoughts, and we need to, even if we are not necessarily seeing eye to eye, we need to be able to find that common ground and find those, what are our points of agreement, so we can build on that. And even with so with the communication side, but also with getting support from people within your organizations. Sometimes, people who sign up for things or are part of organizations, they're not necessarily as plugged in as you want them to be. Being able to communicate with them and see, all right, well, what can we do as an organization to help serve you better, so that you're more comfortable working with us, so that you're more willing to join in or fulfill certain tasks. Being aware of our limitations as well, to know that, okay, well, hey, we want to do A, B, C, X, Y, Z, but we only have the support to do A and B, but we're going to do A and B as well as we can. So all of that are tie into the values and skills that we get from this training, from the working with the Mirrors program and doing the training. So yeah, it's been extremely valuable for me outside of the Mirrors program as well.
Great, thank you so much. And that kind of leads into my next question, which you kind of talked about a little bit, in how participating in this program has impacted your personal lives. You kind of talked a little bit about the communication skills and whatnot, and you also talked about the impact of some of the 8 keys. Can you kind of expand a little bit more on that? Just a little bit.
I don't know about expanding on that too much, but I can tell you that the training experience I've acquired has significantly influenced me. I was born in the 50s, raised in the 60s and 70s, and so my primary focus with bringing up my own children in the 80s was strict discipline, because that's how I was raised, right? So now with the Mirrors program and the keys that I've been given have offered me a new framework for engaging with my grandchildren. So I now prioritize fostering resilience, withholding judgment, and encouraging learning through their mistakes, their own mistakes, and the mistakes of others. So I guess I should have had the grandchildren first.
Lessons learned.
So my kids don't believe that this is the same person that brought their work. I credit the framework that I've learned.
That's good.
That's fair. Never too young to stop learning.
Here you go. Yeah, no, I think similar for me, not as, I was born in the 80s, raised in the 90s, but, we did, and I think with the style of raising that we had and the mentality that we had of what leaders look like, what the adults in the room look like, that was fit for purpose during that time. And nowadays we're realizing, there are differences, and the way that we interact with the younger generations has changed. There are good and bad parts of all these different frameworks. And the nurse program, I think, and working with that has helped me to be able to understand that and to temper and change and see what works, see how things, giving us other ways to interact with them to get the outcomes that we want. Like I said, being able to communicate with them on their level as opposed to with our own hang-ups and mentalities. So I think that's been very valuable for me, because even on a professional level, where we're seeing the people coming out of college now aren't like me and my generation coming out of college. And as business leaders, we have to be able to test and adjust to them to make sure that we're still getting that same quality of work. It might not look the same. It might not look the way that we envision it, but if the outcomes are there, the outcomes are there. So so having this an additional framework has helped with that as well on my side.
So, that work-life balance, work from home type.
With whatever is appropriate is what's appropriate.
Thank you.
Once again, we still need outcomes.
This is true.
Yeah.
So my final question of the day is if you both could share a few words to encourage our viewers, our community, to volunteer for the Mirrors program. You shared your experiences, you shared how it's impacted you, so let them know why they should join and how it could impact them.
I shared the experience of the leadership program in Singapore, and then watching the growth of these young people in action over this past year. It has been extremely rewarding to be able to know that I actually have a part in that. So observing the positive impact on young people is highly rewarding. And this experience has provided renewed purpose and fulfillment for me during retirement. So you can have that too. And in closing, I encourage retirees and professionals alike to consider participating in the Mirrors program. The benefits, both personal and collective, are really, really substantial.
Thank you.
All right. I would say that it's easy to look at the state of the community, look at the state of stuff that's happening in the news, what's online, and get down on who we are as a people. But what the news doesn't show, or shows to an extent, but we need to see more, is all the positivity that's happening, the beauty that this island offers, the amazing, smart, energetic kids that we have, and we need to make sure that we are creating an environment that they are allowed to be that, they're allowed to do that they are comfortable having fun. And that's not something that happens by accident. It takes us and our generations and the adults in the room to sit down and create that environment. Every day we are creating an environment, whether it's positive or negative. And I would recommend, I would love for more of us to volunteer to take the time out to create that environment for them, because that is the future that we are leaving for them. We can't sit back and say, oh, Bermuda was this, Bermuda was that. Okay, well, what are you doing today to create that Bermuda?
Wow.
Sorry, I forgot to mention as well that the Mirrors team It's a very, very warm team, very welcoming, forgiving, and very, very supportive. So
Yeah.
if you want to be a part of that, come join the Mirrors team.
It's a lot easier than you think. Well, as in getting, because they support you so much, you don't have to do as much. That's what I meant to say.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fine. It's perfectly fine. Well, thank you both very much for your time and your insights. Very helpful, very useful for myself and, of course, hopefully for the community as well. Just to let you know, we do have volunteer information sessions coming up. We have one, excuse me, scheduled for this Wednesday, the 25th, here at the Mirrors office from 5:30 to 6:30. So after work, you know, take an hour out of your day to just come by, learn a little bit more about what the Mirrors program is about, what it means to be a life coach, which we're actually recruiting for now. We're looking for 40 for the next cohort, and to see how you could participate and be a part of transformation of a generation. Outside of that, we do have other information sessions scheduled for every Wednesday in April at lunch, between 12 and 1 or 1 and 2. So keep an eye out to our socials and our website for that updated information. Any final words?
Come on out. We need the help, and we would love to have you with us.
That being said, thank you all very much. It's been a wonderful Mirrors Mondays, and we will see you again in April.